With the release of Animal Farm in 2026, and seeing a lot of reviews of the movie, and people comparing it to the 1954 version or even the 1999 version, this made me remember something. Animal Farm is all about the worries on communism and the Russian Revolution. Now, I'll let George Orwell and the philosophers worry about that crap. I choose not to worry about that, and I like to focus on partying, golfing, and binge drinking milk. And back in 2006, Nickelodeon agreed on that mentality. In 1995, Nickelodeon founded Nickelodeon Movies, and they partnered with Paramount Pictures to release movies such as Good Burger and the Rugrats movie trilogy, which were huge successes, making around $250 million between the three movies, which made Nickelodeon believe that they stood a chance to make a lot of money with animated theatrical releases, in the same boat as Disney and DreamWorks. But in the mid-2000s, the landscape of animation was changing, due to the release of insanely successful movies like Shrek, Finding Nemo and Ice Age, which all happened to be completely 3D animated. The success of these movies made many studio executives believe that 2D animation was dead, and every movie needed to be animated in 3D to stand a chance at the box office. Which this led to an oversaturation of 3D animated movies involving anthropomorphic characters. They were everywhere. Movies like Madagascar, The Wild, Open Season, and Flushed Away came out all within a year of one another. The formula basically printed money. Take Hoodwinked for example, an animated movie that's largely forgotten today, but it made over $100 million on a budget of only $8 million, and you could really tell that the budget wasn't high on that film. With all of this going on, Nickelodeon wanted a piece of the pie, and can you really blame them? Now this is where director Steve Odenkirk enters the conversation. Odenkirk was known for his work on movies like Ace Ventura and Kung Pao, which is really good by the way. He was also a Nickelodeon staple, having co-created Jimmy Neutron. When Nickelodeon and Paramount greenlit a movie project about the secret life of farm animals and the shenanigans that they get up to when humans aren't around, nobody knew just how chaotic this movie was going to be. With this premise, Barnyard was born, a movie that is peak, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not. Before I dive into why this movie is peak, let's break down the plot. The film takes place in a barnyard called Barnyard. Have I convinced you yet? We were introduced to a brown cow called Ben, who is voiced by Sam Elliott. So you know he means business. He is walking around the farm looking for his son Otis, who is voiced by Kevin James. Which one thing I always think about when I watch this movie is, if Ben and Otis are male cows, why do they have udders? And second of all, why are they cows? They should be bulls. But whatever. We then cut to Otis, who's goofing around with his buddies. Pig the pig, peak creativity there. Peck the chicken, Freddy the ferret, and Pip the mouse, who are trying to hill surf, when it goes seriously wrong very quickly, which is a perfect moment to let you know just how insane this movie is going to be. During a band meeting, Otis and the gang show up late, embarrassing Ben. After the meeting, Ben has a word with Otis about responsibility, since it's now coyote season, but Otis doesn't really care and just wants to have fun, which is what we see him doing. Later in the movie, we get introduced to two new cows on the farm, Bessie and Daisy, who are voiced by Courtney Cox and Wanda Sykes, who Otis instantly has a thing for, and he finds out that Daisy is pregnant, much to his surprise. That night, we see the life of the animals once the farmer is sleeping. The barn becomes essentially a nightclub for all the animals, with a bar, pool tables, and a band called the Barn Boys, who play nothing but fire. Otis meets up with his father Ben, who is on coyote watch, and Otis convinces Ben to cover his shift, so he can go party instead of keeping watch, which Ben reluctantly agrees. Back at the barn, we see why this movie is absolute peak. Ladies and gentlemen, Biggie Cheese. When Otis arrives, he puts on a musical performance for everybody in attendance, and he even orders a pizza, which this owl scene is so funny to me. Meanwhile, Ben starts to just shred on the guitar and play this absolute tune.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down.
The coyotes arrive and begin to pick out hens to steal for their dinner, but then Ben arrives and begins whooping the coyotes. Now Ben puts up a good fight and the coyotes are scared away, but after the fight, Ben drops to the ground, dying from his injuries. Otis runs to his dad, but it's too late. The farm is now completely out of control without Ben's leadership, which the barn all vote for Otis to take his dad's place. Although Otis doesn't want to do that, he doesn't like the responsibility, and he also gets distracted by the ultimate party animal, Wild Mike. This is when the farmer stumbles across the animals in party mode. So Miles the mule kicks him not once, not twice, but thrice. Damn, poor farmer. They staged the situation like he was dreaming after being knocked out by a tree branch, which is pretty damn smart. That night we see Otis witness a fat snotty kid cow tipping, which this infuriates Otis, and with the help from his friends the Jersey Cows, they steal a car from a local resident before sneaking into the kid's house to get revenge.
That's called boy tipping!
The cows then celebrate by drunk driving and going on a joyride until they are chased by a police car, which turns into a full-on high-speed chase with a helicopter broadcasting them on TV. This movie just has such an emotional whiplash. How did we go from Ben dying like 10 minutes ago to them doing this? The gang escape by crashing the car and then acting like cows usually do. Once back at the barn, Otis speaks to Daisy one-on-one, and we learn that Daisy has a tragic backstory of a storm sweeping through her head. Otis then hears the coyotes in the distance and runs after them, but once confronted, he backs down from them after a short fight. And the leader, Dag, tells him that they will return tomorrow night. They also fat shame Otis, which come on now, that's uncalled for. The next day, Otis feels humiliated and decides to leave the barnyard, but he has been bamboozled by the coyotes. They actually came during the day, stealing hens, including a baby chick called Maddie, who Otis has like an uncle type relationship with. This breaks Otis, and he leaves to fight the coyotes alone. Once he's there, he gets beat up and outnumbered, until the other barn animals arrive to whoop ass, and the coyotes are finally defeated.
Hole in one!
On the way home, Otis then finds out that Daisy is giving birth. So like any normal situation, they steal a bunch of motorbikes from bikers. Once they arrive, Daisy gives birth to a baby cow, which everyone is just watching her give birth. Like damn, give her some privacy. Daisy names the baby Ben, after Otis's father, which damn that makes a grown man cry. With the baby's arrival, Otis decides to stay after all, and run the barn. The end. Now Steve Odenkirk did not want Barnyard to look like a standard Pixar clone. He intentionally pushed for a visual style that was blocky and chunky, and it prioritised a cartoon look, as well as cartoon physics, over realism. He wanted the models to look like toys, which I think the style is fine on the animals, but damn, the humans in this movie look terrifying. It really gives me the Jimmy Neutron vibe. Something is just off. Odenkirk wrote the movie's humour first and then the story second. He already had the gags of the underground gopher market and the boy tipping. He then wrote the emotional arc and relationship between Ben and Otis afterwards, which really explains the complete 180 the movie takes once Ben is killed. I really like how it just goes from one extreme to the other. Can you imagine Simba just like partying out with other lions, Mufasa then just dies and he's like, oh okay, that sucks, and then goes partying again? Can you imagine that? Like I mentioned at the beginning in regards to the design of the male cows. Of course, in real life, male cows are bulls and do not have udders. However, Otis and several other male cows in this movie clearly have udders. Now this became one of the biggest jokes surrounding the film online. According to people involved with the production, the filmmakers intentionally kept the udders because audiences apparently found the characters funnier and more recognisable that way. So instead of changing the designs, the creators chose comedy over the biological accuracy of a cow, which I'd rather have them have udders instead of what bulls have. Like most 2000s animated movies, the celebrity voice cast plays a major role. Otis is voiced by Kevin James, who was popular at the time for starring in the sitcom King of Queens. His performance as Otis matched the character perfectly, because James naturally delivered a laid-back humour, but he could also be emotional without it feeling forced. Odenkirk specifically wrote the character of Ben with Sam Elliott in mind. He stated in interviews that he needed a voice that immediately commanded authority, with an underlying cowboy tone, and Elliott recorded his lines entirely in isolation, so he could channel his classic Western persona. Several voice actors from Jimmy Neutron were brought over to Barnyard, most notably Jeff Garcia, who voiced Sheen. He was cast as Pip the Mouse, and he does pretty much an almost identical style voice, so it's very easy to tell which character he's playing. Rest in peace, King. The music in this movie is awesome. Composer John Debney did the score for the movie, who had also worked on Elf and Hocus Pocus. Also, Ben's cover of I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty is fire, and the scene of Ben's death is made much more impactful by the inclusion of the song Father Son by Peter Gabriel. The movie was released on August 4th, 2006, and it did pretty well. It faced competition from Will Ferrell's Talladega Nights, but it made $119 million on a budget of only $50 million. But this is really what cemented Barnyard as a massive cash cow. I didn't even realise I'd wrote that in the script. What made it so successful was its performance in the home video market. The film generated over $67.7 million in DVD sales, which completely destroyed its initial production budget through just home media. Now, critics hated the movie, accusing the film of being a terrible Pixar ripoff. They claimed it was unfunny and the tone of the movie was too messy, comparing the sad death of Ben with the crazy off-the-wall comedy. The movie ended up only having a score of 23% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No!
Now, I went to see this movie in cinema with my uncle, and I just remember us having a blast watching this. 6-year-old me couldn't get enough of Otis and the gang. The movie is funny to me. The jokes throughout are great, such as the mechanical human, the KFC Colonel on the dartboard, and Pip painting the dogs whilst playing cards. It's just a chef's kiss, man. I love the characters of Ben and Otis too, and what they represent. Otis represents freedom. To him, being free means singing, dancing and dodging work, and of course ignoring his future. He just wants to have fun and be free from any chains that are holding him down. Meanwhile, Ben understands that true freedom for the community can only exist within the framework of discipline and self-sacrifice. The fence line is a physical manifestation of this boundary. Ben is in control of what's inside the fence of the barn. He isn't a dictator. He cares about the safety and maintaining the illusion that they're just animals. When Ben dies, Otis is then forced to confront the reality that his freedom was nothing but a luxury that was entirely funded by Ben's constant labour. The story of Barnyard is the process of Otis realising that true maturity is willing to accept suffering on behalf of those that you care about. The theme of sacrifice is prevalent throughout this movie. It is stated that Ben found Otis abandoned as a calf, and he chose to adopt Otis, which comes full circle later when Daisy gives birth. Otis isn't the biological father, but he adopts baby Ben as his own, just like his father did. I like that they do this because it makes no relationship seem more important. Nobody is related, but they all come together as a family through respect and the care for one another. I'm 26 years old, getting deep about the Barnyard movie. What a time to be alive. Now, due to the success of the movie, Nickelodeon went ahead and greenlit a new animated series based off the movie, titled Back at the Barnyard, which was produced by Omation, which was Odenkirk's own studio. The series premiered in 2007 and it had 2 seasons. Like most series based off movies, the animation quality had dropped significantly, and many voice actors were not present from the movie. The show went full chaos and just embraced how crazy of a concept the show was, which led to many moments being just straight up weird, such as this.
Now let's see what we got in the dairy section.
No, not the dairy section.
2%, 1%, half and half. Why are you squirting yourself? Stop squirting yourself.
What the hell was that?
Yep, that actually happened. Despite this, the series won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Class Animated Program in 2009. Who'd have thought? In a weird way, Barnyard has aged better than some other mid-2000s CGI films. that tried way too hard to look realistic and often ended up feeling extremely outdated. Barnyard already looked cursed and exaggerated from the start, so the roughness became part of its charm. The film also, in my opinion, reflects the time when animated movies were allowed to be just a bit stranger. Modern animation often feels extremely polished and carefully focus tested for children, which Barnyard feels like a filmmaker throwing every weird idea he has onto the screen and just getting away with it. And the unpredictability is probably why the movie still has fans today. Now, nobody would argue that Barnyard is definitely one of the greatest animated movies ever made. It is messy and very inconsistent, but those qualities are what make it memorable. There are countless technically better animated movies that people never think about, but Barnyard is still constantly discussed online nearly 20 years later. I think a big part of that comes down to personality. The movie has a very specific comedic style. The film is completely committed to its own nonsense, and that kind of energy definitely sticks with people. It also helps that so many first-time viewers watched it as children like myself. Nostalgia of course plays a huge role in the movie's current reputation, but at the same time, nostalgia alone does not explain why the internet has latched onto this movie. Plenty childhood movies get forgotten, but Barnyard survived because it gives people so much material to talk about and laugh at. The weird cow anatomy, the random dance parties, the sudden emotional change, and of course Biggie Cheese, all combine into something that's just perfect for meme culture. Even the movie's flaws become part of its identity. Like I said, the male cows being cows instead of bulls and having udders, it's just funny as fuck, man. Especially in the Barnyard game when you can just fire milk out of them, like, they knew what they were doing, surely. Now this is why I believe Barnyard remains such a strange but important part of 2000s animation. It represents a period where studios were definitely experimenting heavily with the CGI format. It was trying all different comedic styles. Some movies of that era played things safe, which Barnyard absolutely did not, which you do have to respect the movie for that. It may not be your cup of tea, but they just didn't care. They did whatever the hell they wanted, and they made a funny as fuck movie in the process. Whether somebody watches it because they genuinely love it, or because they think it's hilariously weird, the result is still the same. Barnyard is still remembered. We all remember it. Barnyard is in a long list of movies to me that I watched as a kid that I still think are really good, despite people hating them online. So I wanted to make this video to try and persuade you guys to go watch Barnyard, do something very good and productive with your life, get off games, get off social media, watch Barnyard, come on now. And that is the end of today's video. Thank you all for the support on the Goofy movie video, that really means a lot. It got way more views than I expected, so thank you. If you've made it this far, I won't waste your time anymore. I've kept you for like 20 minutes talking about Barnyard and trying to convince you that it's good. So I'll leave it here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers!